Hello and welcome. I'm Elaine Canyon, sweetly writing happily ever after, one book at a time. And in this video, we're finishing up our interview with Kathryn McClatchy from Unleashing the Next Chapter. Kathryn's been with us the last two videos, and she's been talking about how to self-publish on a shoestring budget, specifically in the marketing. And so we started out in the first episode talking about how important it was to get your platform set up and ready long before you're ready to publish, and making sure that all of that groundwork is done and you're building an audience that way. And then in last week's video, we talked about what do you do next when you've got that first book out and you're starting to get a little bit of a following, what those next steps are. And in this video, we're going to talk about what you do once you've established yourself, you have a good following, and how do you move to that next step from that organic growth into bringing people to you. And specifically, she highlights how advertising and paid ads does not have to be that Amazon ads where you're putting thousands of dollars in to only make a few $100s out, and a lot of the stuff like that that happens in algorithm-based advertising that tends to drive a lot of authors, especially new authors, away from it out of fear of losing money. And so it's a great conversation about how advertising and moving forward into that realm as a business owner does not have to mean losing all of your money because you're paying per click and then all of a sudden the Amazon ad got away from you. She actually doesn't talk about Amazon ads at all in this, which I kind of love, because as a wide author personally, I don't want to rely on Amazon ads for my sales. I want other opportunities, and Kathryn gives us a ton of other opportunities. So let's dive in. So let's jump a little bit here. And what do you do for the author that is like, they're working on book number 5 or book number 6. They've got that email list built up. They've got their following on their social media platform of choice. They're doing really well, and they want to make that next step from, okay, I make a couple $100s here or there with my books. How do you help them jump up to that next step where they're bringing in that 4-figure range for their book?
Paid ads. That's definitely where they've got to get. If they're not doing paid ads, they're missing out. A good rule of thumb is 10% of your revenue needs to be dedicated towards your marketing. So when you're starting to make money, even if that's, and the beauty of, so again, I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook, but what Facebook does very well is their advertising. And you can target your audience, and they give you great analytics. So I will put out paid ads, and you can do it for $5 a month. I mean, it's not expensive. Anybody can budget. So do a series of ads. I would run a small ad quarterly just to get the analytics. And that's something when I'm working with clients, a lot of times we'll put out a little ad just to get analytics and to narrow our demographic. And then we'll put more money behind the next ad because we now have useful data. So I would strongly encourage you to run ads to build your email list. That's always a priority. No matter how long you've been in business, you need to keep building that email list because you need to keep culling your email list. You want it to be as active and engaged as possible. So those ads are good. I would use ads to build your YouTube or a course or a special event or webinar. If you're getting ready to do a launch, maybe you want to whatever your specialty is, or whatever the main theme of your book is. Maybe you had some experts that coached you on something in your book, whatever. See if they'll do a group panel kind of thing and invite people to attend that webinar. And talk to the experts and learn more about the topic of interest or whatever. I'm just spitballing because, everybody's going to have to make this unique. But you can do a series of ads and then see who's interested in that and who signs up for it, and ask them, to review it if they liked it. I always, when I'm speaking at events, here's another thing authors need to do. You need to be speaking at events. I don't care how introverted you are or how much you have social anxiety. You need to figure out a way to interact in person with your readers or potential readers, and speaking at libraries, speaking at job fairs. There's just a wealth of places and ways that you can get out there and shake hands with people and hand them your business card and eat lunch, coffee shops, whatever. But make sure that you're inviting people to events, and then ask them to again, social media, big thing for me because I do marketing, but I always take a moment where I go, okay, I'm going to pose, take a picture, post it on your social media platform. I give them a hashtag for the day. It's usually a combination of my name and the event I'm at. And at the end of the day, I will give whatever I give away as a drawing for the one who did that. And for every social media platform you post something on, you get an entry kind of thing. So throughout the day, they'll be posting. So you can do the same thing if you're doing an online event, right? If you're doing an online webinar, if you're on a panel, if you're somewhere where people can take a picture of you and put it in their stories with a comment, or put it in a review, or leave a testimonial on your LinkedIn page or a reference, kind of thing. That's worth gold. It's called user-generated content. User-generated content, that's the holy grail. It really is. If you can have people saying nice things about you and your work, it adds social proof that yes, you exist. You're not a bot. That you are a likable human being. You're not a creeper, and that are trustworthy. When you say you're going to sell a book, you are a human being who's actually a member of the reading and writing community, and you probably are going to sell a book. Because we all know there's those people who've been talking about writing a book and talking about launching a book for the last 12 years, and it's never happened, and that erodes trust, and that erodes their community. So user-generated content, it doesn't get any better than that, especially if it's good. And even if it's not good, don't be afraid to point people towards your Goodreads and to build relationships on Goodreads. Goodreads is also another unsung. If you're going to spend money, they have a $99 launch package. That is worth in gold. Do that. The more expensive package doesn't get the same results. It's not quite the same level of ROI, but that cheaper, it was $99 last time I checked. It might have changed, but that is worth doing because you're targeting the audience you want to target, and it's people who are primed and ready for your book. They are readers. You don't have to sell them on being a reader. They're buying it and they're probably going to review it. And the thing a lot of people don't realize is that Goodreads is followed by agents. It's followed by Hollywood producers, editors, acquisition people. So if they're looking to make a movie and convert a book to a script, they're looking at the reviews on Goodreads because that's their focus group. That's their market research. If you have a book that gets good reviews and you've built an audience around it, they know that that's worth looking at. So don't, even if you're small, you can set up a free author page on Goodreads. Goodreads has a blog function you can take advantage of. And you can do that all the way through your career and just keep growing that. So I've been published in a couple of anthologies, but I even have a little following. I'm working on a big novel project, but it may or may not ever get published. It makes me happy and it keeps me in touch with that side of my chosen clientele. But yeah, you need to be aware of things like that. So paid advertising can take a lot of forms. It might be simply putting a print ad in a conference. So if you're writing mystery, for example, Boucher Con happens every year. It's the world's oldest, largest international convention of mystery lovers, right? They bring in editors, writers, publishers, producers, readers, fans, influencers, all come together one weekend out of the year, and it's in a different city every year around the world, and it's an amazing community. But they also have a directory that you can put ads in, and a lot of other conferences do that too. Now, the important thing to know, I think it's still packed. I've got a whole wall of boxes here of books that I haven't unpacked yet. But what's interesting is I was on a panel, I coordinated a panel. I was the marketing manager for the 50th anniversary gala. And then I had a couple of books, the anthologies that I was recently in for sale. So you get to sign books and you get to talk to fans and build community that way, as well as a lot of the book dealers will buy extra directories and they'll get all of the authors to sign their author pages. So we had people like, well, during the signing, I sat next to Peter Lovesey, who has had a 50-year career in the mystery world. He's a British writer. He's amazing. I could just name drop for the next hour. It was such an amazing event. But I'm on the page with some of these authors and my signature is on them, and then these get sold. So years later, these ads are still, I mean, that's gold. People are going to see those ads years and years to come. So don't dismiss old school marketing tactics because we're in a digital age, because quite honestly, people are spending less and less time online. And a lot of those old school networking and marketing tactics are now leading the revenue streams.
Well, and I love that you made ads so much bigger, because in the author world it tends to get really focused, especially when other authors are talking about what they're doing and they say, "Oh, I have an Amazon ad for this book or I have a Facebook ad for this book." And it becomes really specific to, well, I'm paying by the click, and so I put in $1,000 a month in Amazon ads and I make $1,000 back after I take that thousand
Yeah.
dollars out. So I'm making $2,000 a month, but I have to put $1,000 in first. And we get really focused on that's the only way to do ads. And I love that you're like, no, you can run a Facebook ad to your newsletter. You can run paper ads. You can find the places that will make a big difference and are not that traditional kind of myopic view that authors
Yeah.
often get about running ads. And it doesn't have to just be about the next book.
Right. And that's why you need a marketing professional in your corner. So I do have openings for clients, by the way. And I only take on 2 clients per month max because, again, onboarding is a big deal. But the thing to consider is if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to get the results everybody else gets. And we know that authors do not make a lot of money.
Yep.
But here's the thing, if you build a community, you can leverage that community for research. You can leverage that community for opportunities for speaking events. I earn almost as much with my speaking events as I do other things that I do. So that's something that's very important to me. And if you are in the habit of running ads monthly or quarterly, then you will be keeping up with the changes, because if you only run an ad when you launch, you have to learn how to advertise all over again because the platform keeps changing, tweaking, best practices change. By keeping your finger in the pie, even if it's only a $50 ad, that's giving you data that you can use when you want to do the big book sale launch. You have data to work with, you have demographics to work with, you have best practices to work with. Also, I don't know who keeps saying this. I think Facebook pushes it itself. If you have a good performing post, they will prompt you to boost it as a paid ad. Don't ever do that. Just don't. You will not get any return on it. It is not the thing. The other thing to keep in mind in today's climate, because people are so stinking frustrated with how many ads they're getting and sponsored posts they're getting in their feeds, what we're finding is if you make your ad look like a post, not a post, don't boost a post. It's different on the back end. But if you can build your ad campaign to look more like a post and to fit seamlessly in somebody's feed, you're going to get better interaction with it. So to post there. You also need to consider SMS marketing. Now you can sign up for a service that you can send directly to somebody's text messaging if they give you their phone number. You also have options for WhatsApp. WhatsApp marketing is a huge open place that most authors are not talking about. I haven't heard any authors talking about it. But WhatsApp is owned by WhatsApp is owned by Meta. So it's part of when you set up your Facebook ads, you can set it up for Meta. You can set it up for WhatsApp, you can set it up for Instagram, you can set it up for stories, for reels, for all the things. So make sure you're looking at that. I think a lot of people think, oh, WhatsApp is just a texting service. Well, no, it's so much more. You have entire communities living on WhatsApp, like we have Discord communities, or like we have Facebook groups. They're doing that in WhatsApp. WhatsApp currently has, next to Signal, the best encryption and security of any of the text messaging services out there. So you've got a lot of professionals, and you've got a lot of international. If you are looking for an international clientele, you need to be going through WhatsApp. So again, there's a lot more options out there, and a lot more options for different budgets. Twitter has great advertising options. LinkedIn has great advertising options. So I think YouTube, even, you can advertise through YouTube. There's just so many things if you're willing to think outside the box, or if you're willing to hire somebody like me to coach you through it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea that you could advertise in WhatsApp. I honestly thought it was just a text messaging service. But I think that's such an important thing to remember, because I definitely was of the opinion when I first started out. I was like, this Amazon ad thing sounds like it's awful, and I don't want anything to do with it. And so I completely turned off to ads in general, because I was hearing about authors that were like, well, yeah, I make six figures, but I spend $40,000 or $30,000 in ads a year.
Yeah, no,
And
no,
I was like,
that's ridiculous. Your marketing budget, a good rule of thumb is 10%. And I would do that over the year. So if you know last year you made X dollars in revenue, that's not your profit, that's your revenue, then 10% of your revenue you need to budget for your marketing, and you need to spread that out over the course of the year, right? So don't put it all on your launch, because that's too late. You need to be building your community consistently. You need to be finding those true fans that are going to evangelize you. So that's the goal. And it takes a lot of pressure off of the launch. So many writers, their focus, either they hyper focus on the writing, or they hyper focus on the launch, and that's not sustainable for the majority of us. You need to, as soon as you finish one book, you need to start writing another book, and you also need to be working on your marketing all the way through the process. And the other thing, talking about what to write on your posts, on your blogs, it's not about coming up. Okay, another thing we have to address with Google, because of AI and the bots situation, they have changed their requirement for what they are pushing on the SEO and the algorithms. And a lot of other platforms are taking that lead. So it's the EAT acronym, EEAT. And what that stands for is they're looking for posts, blogs, whatever, that show experience, EEAT, experience, expertise, authenticity, and trustworthiness. Okay. AI cannot do that. AI doesn't have real world stories. AI does not have social proof. So rather than figuring out if AI wrote it or if humans wrote it, this is the test. So everything you write, you need to show real world examples. Okay, so this is why, and Gary Vaynerchuk was talking about this at least 5 years ago. Document your day, right? This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. Take pictures with fans. Take selfies at the bookstore you're visiting. Do things that show that you are human, and that you are engaged with your community, and that you are active in your world, right? Show that you're trustworthy, and that is about consistency. If you only post once, like during launch season, I see this all the time. Authors that they ignore social media up until the month before launch through the month after launch, and then they're gone again for the next 10 months. That doesn't build online consistency or trust with the algorithms or your fans. So you have to plan on being consistent. I would rather you post one time a week all 52 weeks of the year than be active, 5 times a day for 2 months, because it doesn't look good.
No, it makes a lot of sense. So I have a question. You've talked about a
Mhm.
lot of different kinds of advertising that
I'm
we can
sorry.
do. Oh, you're fine. You've talked about a lot of different advertising that we can do. So what are your thoughts on the company that's coming to mind is called Written Word Media. Do you know what that is? They're the paid
I've heard a
newsletters.
little bit about them.
So you can
Hmm.
pay to have your book featured in a newsletter that's sent out to
Hmm.
readers that subscribe to them. What are your thoughts on
Hmm.
that? Because I know that's huge in the author community. That's a big push that I see a lot of people going towards.
So the other thing to look at, and again, I am not well versed in this community. I've heard of it. I know it exists, this company, but I don't know anything. So the general rule of thumb with all of this is, look at, are they doing affiliate marketing? So like there's certain tools that suddenly everybody's talking about, and then you realize they're getting a kickback or they're getting a perk as an affiliate marketer for people signing up through them. So with a lot of these review sites, that's the first thing I'd look at. Are they getting a deal by promoting it? So what's the vested interest? Follow the money. And then talk to some people who have used it, this service. Would they use it again? What was the pros and the cons? Because there's always some of each. And if you go into it knowing, okay, this is a weakness or this is going to be a problem, but I'm willing to take that problem because the pros outweigh it. Right. So get a realistic approach. And that's the nice thing about the author community. We are happy to talk about what works and what doesn't work. So ask some people, again, throw it out on Twitter. Twitter is the greatest place to find information, and personal experience. So, and be engaged, y'all. Be engaged. Don't just post and ghost. Be engaged. But I would look at those type of things. In Texas, there is Lone Star Lit, which, they have a similar type service, and I know the lady who runs it. I'm a huge fan. I have paid them to, spotlight us for different things. I've used, if you have any ties to Texas, either you grew up there, your story set there, you live there currently, whatever, you are eligible to work with Lone Star Lit, and they have a great network. So I know there's a lot of things like that are local or regional as well as national and international. But I would do due diligence. I would see, why are the people promoting it, who are promoting it, what are their results, and what was the return on investment. So like you said, some people are making six figures, but they're also spending, 80% of that in their advertising. So their take home is less than 20%, and then they got to take all their other expenses out of that. Is that a good return on investment? I would argue not. I think 10% of your revenue put towards marketing is smart. I think anything more than that, you really need to be tracking the numbers and seeing, is this truly generating income, or is this just bloating my numbers? Because when you talk, and that's another question to ask, when people are talking about being a six-figure writer, okay, so your revenue is six figures. What is your final profit at the end of all of that? Because I'm seeing a lot of authors that are showing huge revenue and negative profit. So again, follow the money, look at the numbers. Is this, and is this on brand for you, whatever group you go with? Is this something that supports your brand? And is this something that, will end up being worth the time and the effort and the money?
I love that. It kind of comes back to just some really basic standard business practices, but it's
Yeah.
not really, like, there are a lot of authors who come into, I have a book and I want to sell this book and I'm going to do it the indie route, and then they realize, oh, I'm running a business, and they kind of flounder
Yes.
because they don't know how to do it. And so I love that all of the steps you just gave, those are basic business practices
Hmm.
for any
Hmm.
business, whether you're an author or any other kind of creative entrepreneur, making sure that you understand where you're putting your money and what that return is going to be, and if it's worth your time and your effort for that return.
Right, right. And that's, this is important because a lot of people, they love reading. They have a vivid imaginary world in their head and they think they'd be a good writer, and they don't realize the IRS looks at you as a business owner if you make a product, your book, if you sell a product, your book, if you handle money, positive or negative, if money is flowing through, you are by definition a business and you have to use proper accounting methodology and you have to be looking at these statements. So, this is something I think a lot of authors are not prepared for. They look at, we grew up with Murder, She Wrote and The Wonderful Life That Jessica Fletcher had, right? That's not reality of an author. We can't make most in today's day and age, unless you're already famous for something else. You're not getting the big book deals, right? Um, and most authors have a side hustle that actually pays the bills to fund what they love, especially starting out. When I started getting really involved in the business side of being an author, 2015-ish, let's say, the rule of thumb was you had to have a minimum of 5 books on your book list to break even.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even making a living. That's breaking even. So if you just want to be a one and done author, you have this passion project you want to get out or a legacy project that you want to leave, um, yeah, you're not going to make a living off of it. It's just not. So you have to be really smart about where you're spending the money. I just had a discovery call with an author. She's got 2 books out there. It's a legacy project for her. She's had a career. She's retired. She wants to leave these books that she believes are brilliant, and she doesn't understand why she gets 5-star reviews, but very few of them. Well, looking at it, they're friends and family who have reviewed the book. It's not critically successful. And there were some other problems that she wasn't prepared to hear. She had a huge budget. She was willing to put any amount of money, and she couldn't understand why I didn't want to take her as a client because she was willing to pay me well. But I didn't see the potential. And it was just, it's hard. So I think one of the secrets in the marketing world is we know, and we've got statistical evidence that people buy based on emotion. This is why when you go through TJ Maxx and a lot of grocery stores, it's that long line they put you through, and you've got to weave through all these impulse buy type items that you didn't come in for, you didn't know you wanted or needed, but when you leave, half of your purchase was these impulse buys that were by the register, right? People buy on emotion and they buy out of boredom. So if you are going to be smart, you need to have a plan and you need to make sure you are not buying on impulse. And that includes your cover design, that includes your editor, that includes your marketing. You need to be strategic and you need to know your budget. And that's the number one thing I find authors are not doing. They're not preparing their budget in those cool, clear, analytical moments, and then they get in a panic because they have a book to launch and they throw money at it, not knowing if that's a good use of money, if that's in their budget. They fall in love with cover design and they spend way too much money on cover design, and then they don't have enough money for the marketing of it, or vice versa, or editing, all the things. If you're going to spend money, yeah, you have to have a good editor, you have to have a good cover designer, you have to have somebody who knows what they're doing with marketing, coaching you at the very least. So like you said, there's just so many options that most authors aren't aware of because they're not taking classes on the weekly. They're not keeping up with the statistics and the trade journals and the industry standards. and the current best practices that change every quarter. So you really need to consider what you're going to invest, how much you have to invest, and you need to be doing good business. And if you are not a business person, you need to find somebody you trust who can guide you through that.
I love all that. Well, Kathryn, is there anything else that you want to cover or go over to put out there as far as when you're trying to self-publish and you're moving through those phases, but you're also trying to be really smart with the money that you have or don't have in that case?
I think the one thing that authors, because a lot of us believe in rituals and we're creatures of habit, and when we find something that works, we hold on to it like a dog with a bone. You need to know that what got you to this point will not get you to the next level. Okay. The technology is changing, the best practices are constantly evolving, and what it took to get you to write your first novel, your first short story, your first whatever is not going to be the same strategy as what's going to get you to the next level. So you need to be prepared to evolve and to grow with your business.
I love that that is such an important thing to remember, that when we find something that works in our author careers and in our author journeys, we like to hold on so tight to it because it's working. And being prepared and having that mindset at the beginning that what works right now might have to change as I keep moving forward. And in a lot of instances, it absolutely will have to change as I move forward. And so I love that final bit of advice, that be willing to evolve and be willing to grow and be willing to incorporate new tools into your toolbox as you move forward, regardless of what your self-publishing marketing budget is. Be willing to shift and change continuously. I know you were the person who made it so that I didn't look at all paid advertising as a bad thing, because I had started with that mindset after someone told me, well, yeah, if you want to make $100,000, you have to spend nearly $60,000. And I went, no, that sounds terrible. I'm never paying for advertising.
No, that's bad business. That's bad business.
Exactly.
And also, I think a lot of authors, we seem to have a strong DIY work ethic, right? We can do it all. We're smart. We love research. We can figure it out. Yeah, you probably can. But is that what you want to spend your time and energy on, right? So again, if managing money and budgeting and figuring all that stuff out is not your happy place or your gifting, then hire a bookkeeper to make those cold calculated decisions for you, right? Have somebody you trust. My husband had 20 years in banking. I don't make a single financial decision or I don't commit to anything above we have an agreed upon price point without running it through him. Not that I need his permission, but I have this resource here I'd be foolish not to take advantage of, right? So, and my mom had her own bookkeeping business and did tax prep for 100 years, right? She's retired now. She's in her 80s. She's still mentally sharp. If I have a thing I'm debating about money-wise, I read it by my mom. I'm in my 50s. Do I need my mommy's approval? No, but dadgummit, she is the smartest woman I know about money, and she can do it in a totally unemotional, completely objective way, and she sees things I don't see. So I think that's something we need to know about ourselves. Yes, you can do everything, but is it worth your time? And if you're doing everything, that means you're saying no to things that are in your zone of genius and that you do want to do, right? So I would never presume that I am better at marketing than any other author, but this is my passion place, and I have 30 years of experience, and I've seen what works, and I keep up with the current best practices and all the statistics and stuff. Do you really want to spend 3 hours a day studying the market like I do to keep up with that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Kathryn, thank you so much. I would love for you to share with everyone all the places that they can find you and all of the places that they can connect with you. And hopefully, we might find out that one of my viewers is someone who really needs you right now.
Oh, that would be lovely. Okay, so I am not going to give you all the places because it would freak out your audience. Because again, this is what I do for a living. I'm everywhere. But the places I am happy and active on are limited to 3. So you can find me consistently on Instagram. You can find me consistently on Twitter. or X. I know it's X, but it's been Twitter. Um, Twitter's still my happy place. I know a lot of people are leaving it for a lot of crazy reasons, but my community is still hanging out there, and that's another tip. You need to go where your community is. The end of story. And then LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn, maybe not to the same degree, but I'm active on LinkedIn. So those are the three places you will probably find me. I have a presence on Facebook, but honestly, Facebook for me is more about friends and family and my personal, not my business. And then the podcast. If you want more free resources and coaching, check out Authorpreneurs Unleashed. Again, authorpreneurs, because we focus on the business of writing, not craft. If you're looking for craft, I used to coach authors on writing, but honestly, there's others that do that better. And I know I have a unique skill set as far as being able to do the marketing and the business side of things. So that's what I focus on. We are moving towards putting the podcast on YouTube. We have been recording all of season 3. It has not gone live yet because we're still figuring out best practices that. And so I'm probably going to dump a bunch of videos pretty soon, but I can share those links with you. And then email, my website, unleashingthenextchapter.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. I send out kind of a long, detailed newsletter the first Tuesday of every month. And then mid-month, I usually do a little more personal, short update kind of thing, or current things that people should be aware of. So I try to make it a mix between personal teaching and curated content. So, yeah, I would love to connect with your audience. And again, I'm available for speaking. I'm available for guesting on other podcasts or shows. I'm available for coaching, consulting, do it for you, or strategy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kathryn. I so appreciate you taking your time today to sit down with me and share all of this really helpful and useful information. I knew about like 6 months into knowing you and being able to actually talk to you, I was like, wow, if I ever get to the point where I've got enough of an audience that I feel like it would help her, I would really love to sit down with Kathryn and talk to her and be able to bring her knowledge to the people who watch me. So thank you so much for doing that. I so appreciate it.
Thank you. And folks, don't be afraid to ask. You never know. And even if it's not now, it might be later. I've been doing the podcast for 3 years, and when I started, fortunately, I had a nice network of authors that I could interview and have conversations with. But now, 3 years in, I'm starting to get pitched by PR firms asking if I would have their authors on. And so none of this happens overnight. There is no such thing as an overnight success. I think the saying goes, it takes 10 years of diligent work to be an overnight success. So if you're not in this for the long haul, you need to rethink what you're doing. But it has been a joy. I have loved getting to know Elaine, and we have hung out on Discord together and have regular chats, and I have thoroughly enjoyed learning from you also. So y'all need to come over to Authorpreneurs Unleashed. The episode dropped last night. Elaine was very open, talking about not only cover design, but we also talked about some neurodivergence and mental health issues. And I don't know how much of that you've shared with your audience, but I found it very helpful. And I've already gotten some nice comments back thanking you for that. So
Awesome. I'm so glad.
that's where to find me.
That's fantastic. Well, yeah, if you want to know more about my experience with neurodivergency, I definitely am open about it on the channel. Especially on the goal video, I was like, I'm autistic. This way doesn't work. We do it this way. But we definitely are open about that and open to that here on this channel. And so if you want a really in-depth perspective on how I deal with that, I haven't done that here on this channel, but I did get to do it with Kathryn on that podcast, and it was so much fun. So if that's something that interests you, I hope that you'll hop over there. The link to everything that Kathryn's talked about today, including that, is down below in the description of the video. And I am so grateful for all of you coming. If you have any other questions for Kathryn, please make sure that you put those down below, and we'll make sure to tag her in them, and she'll help.
Oh, I'm also a follower. I'm a follower and a fan, so I will be watching the comments. Yeah, feel free to throw anything in the comments and I will be happy to respond to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I hope if you liked what you saw today, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the like button. I post videos on Wednesdays about cover design, discovery writing, and self-publishing on a shoestring budget. I hope to see you again soon.